Yeah.
Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be here. We thank you that we live in a country like this where we can have open discussions and resolve these things here without, we see in other parts of the world where they resolve things with bullets and guns and bombs, and we're just thankful that we don't live in a country like that. We ask for your blessing, Lord, ask for you to protect us and guide us in everything that we think about and everything that we do. In your name, amen.
Important time. We're going to approve the minutes of the last meeting, April 14th. Any questions, comments? Jan, approve.
Second.
John, second. Those in favor? Opposed likewise? Thank you. Okay. Tim first.
Tim's first, yeah.
Yeah. Tim, you want to step up and share?
Wasn't expecting that, but thank you. This is the same information that was provided to the commissioners last week, so. It'll be brief.
I've already got one last week.
Thank you.
No. For you.
Yep.
This is our annual funding request and financial update for Pike County Services. So last year we received an increase in $47,678. We're not requesting an increase this year. We agreed that we would just wait for every 2 years and look at it then. We are looking for its approval of the current amount. So really the main challenge that we have is that FSSA has shut down our supported living waiver program, and we are still operational, but as far as filling any new openings, and now everything is frozen. So we actually have 5 openings at this point in time. On the group home side, the housing side, we still have activity there, so we have a couple openings at those beds. We had a positive $12,785 so far this year, which was a surprise with everything that's going on. But a lot much lower than what it was last year. So we have 50 residents in Adams County, 59 in Wells County. And our request today is for approval for some indicated. So any questions?
Just need a motion.
I'll move to approve.
2 seconds.
Corey made a motion, Bob second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Amen.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you
Ken.
very much.
Jason's sitting right there, Dennis.
Yeah. Jason? Thank you.
Good morning. Information I wanted to pass out. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Jason Similar, Principal at Baker Tilly. Thank you for having me here this morning. It's been a few years ago, but when I came in front of the council, looking at potential of refinancing your county jail bond issue that we did in 2015. Rates were low and it showed some potential savings. And then the market changed and it's really didn't make it sense for us to refinance the bonds at the time. So we're constantly looking at those bonds that we did in 2015 to see if the market's right, where it makes sense to maybe refinance these, just like you might refinance your house and try to reduce the annual payment and generate some savings. And when we looked at this back in February, when rates had dropped, it did look like there were some pretty substantial savings, might be worth considering. Since then, there's been a war, as everyone knows, so rates have been kind of creeping back up, but we still wanted to present the numbers for the council to review because there's still some potential benefit, potentially of refinancing those. So just was asked today to come and present this to the council and then answer any questions that you might have as well. So I put together some numbers for us to go through. If you have any questions as we go through the schedules, feel free to stop and be happy to answer them. But on page 1, again, these were the county jail bonds that we issued in 2015. You can see that there's $9,450,000 of principal outstanding. They're anticipated to mature unless we pay them off early, January 15, 2035. You can see the rates there, that third column. The current rates are 3.25% to 3.875%. So still really great rates. We got a great deal back in 2015. And then you can see that your annual payment to the far right, again, you make payments twice a year, in January and July, and total payments are about $1.3 million.
Is there any
Payment penalty?
Yeah.
No.
No.
The next page. This is kind of an illustration that we received. We also were contacted by an underwriting firm, Baird, and they provided us some preliminary numbers, what they think if we were to go to the market today, what kind of rates that we would receive in kind of terms. So kind of starting at the bottom there, the use of funds, the underwriter's discount, that's the fee for, whether have a bank or an underwriter, there's usually an upfront fee to purchase the bonds. They said they charge about 0.5%, which is about $37,000. We have a placement for cost of issuance. That's your professional fees, bond counsel, local counsel, municipal advisor fees. They recommended to try to get the lowest rate that we would get insurance. There's a fee there for that. And then again, about $9,450,000 of principal outstanding that we'd have to refinance. About $9,453,000 of what we would need to refinance those bonds. And then a little contingency there. So to refinance this, we look at a total project of about $9,625,000. If you go to the top of the schedule, kind of starting with the bottom, when we issued these bonds back in 2015, if you remember, we issued these. There was the public safety lit that just became, available to counties. At the time we issued those, if you remember, we could adopt that public safety lit rate, but we couldn't use it for debt service when it was first introduced. So what we did is we raised that rate, used that to help pay for operating costs, and that freed up other monies that we used to make these payments. At the time, because of the local income tax and being new, to make these bonds marketable, we set aside some money into a separate account called a debt service reserve account. Just kind of extra insurance policy that if the income didn't come in as we anticipated, bondholders would know that we had money set aside in a separate account to make that payment. Now, we don't think we would need that money setting aside in a separate account. We don't think we'd be required, and I know we're currently doing bond issues very similar to this without having that extra security. So we could apply that money that you're currently sitting there towards these bonds and add it towards the principal, so we don't have to borrow as much in the refinancing. And there's also about another $400,000 in, it's called an operation reserve account that has accumulated over the years, just kind of the excess amount that you've accumulated. So we could apply that. So those two amounts together add up to 1.6 million. So we could apply that cash. It's just sitting there right now in the bank, earning minimal interest. We could apply that towards refinancing to help buy down the bonds.
So we have 1.6 sitting there as an insurance policy, basically,
Yes.
that we feel like we don't need anymore.
Correct. Yeah. And then there's a reoffering premium. I'll kind of talk about this a little bit more, but basically the rates I'm going to show you, the next schedule are 5% rates. Those rates are above what the market is requesting right now. And we call those premium bonds because right now the market's anywhere from about 3 to 3.5%. But investors want to earn more than that. So they'll say, okay, we'll give you a 5%. If you give us a 5% rate, we'll give you money up front. Kind of like when you're refinancing your house and you're trying to buy down the interest rate, you pay money sometimes. Kind of a similar situation. So for a higher interest rate, we're willing to get about $554,000 of additional cash. So that's additional cash that we could apply towards the refinancing. So that means we
On
don't
top
need
of the 1.6?
Yes. Yeah. So this is people who are wanting to buy the bonds will say, hey, we're going to charge you a 5% interest rate, but we're going to give you money up front to buy down the rate. So it's more like equivalent to like a 3% rate. So with that additional, $554,000 premium, we're estimating, then we only need to borrow $7,415,000. So we go to the next page. Again, showing how that might be amortized. Again, keeping the term of the bonds the same. We're not extending it at all. Keeping it still mature January 15, 2035. Now only borrowing or being to borrow $7,415,000. You can look at the far right. Now we're looking at the annual payment being about $1,080,000. So if you go to the next page, you compare the $1,080,000 to the 1.3 million that we show on the first page. You can see on the far right column, the annual payment decreases by about $225,000. Now, majority of the savings is not coming from the lower interest rate. If we were looking at this a couple months ago, where rates were a little bit lower, we'd be showing even more savings. It's really where the savings is coming from is that cash on hand, that $1.6 million. So if you look at the net present value benefit, it shows we're saving $1.9 million in cash. But once you apply the $1.6 million in cash that you have on hand and discount it back, it's really only $24,000 worth of savings, net present value. So I don't want to fool you that you're saving a lot of money. You're really just using that cash on hand more efficiently. And that's what's generating the savings. I'll go through that process. That's one thing that I wanted to bring up. Rates are a little bit lower right now, so you generate a little bit of savings. Something that I know the county has talked about, as Justice Center. If there's any expenses that you're occurring right now that you need financing for, what we might want to do, if this is something you're interested in, plus you need more cash regarding that project or anything else. I just know that's a project that you guys are still considering and having some expenses on. We could do a new money and refinancing at the same time. So if you did have a need for additional cash that you needed to borrow for, we could incorporate that in here and just be more efficient. Instead of doing basically two bonds, we'd be doing one.
Well, if we apply the 1.6 to today's bond, we've talked about other options for the potential Justice Center financing that maybe would not be a bond.
Mhm.
So if we applied that 1.6 to this, even though we wouldn't necessarily lower our payment potentially, right?
No, you could,
Okay, so we could shorten the term as well, right?
if you shorten the term, then you wouldn't reduce your annual payment, but you could, that would be your choice. You could, maybe make it a year shorter.
And if we did not, if we just applied it to today's bond, we would save in some fees as well, wouldn't we?
Yes.
So really the only difference there would be whether or not you want to be locked into that higher payment each year.
Right.
Versus keep the lower interest rate right now that we currently have. And save on the back end when we're paid off earlier.
And something, if rates do go back down, and this is something we talked about, a couple of years ago when I was here. If we think rates are going to go back down, which we've heard that they might, who knows, you could always approve to do the refinancing. And we could wait until, let's say you have a threshold where, you want to say more than 24,000 net present value. Let's say you want to be at 100,000. If you've gone through all the approval process, we can keep monitoring the market. And once we hit that threshold, then you've already given us authorization where we could refinance it once we hit that key milestone that you want to achieve.
If we applied the 1.6 to the bond as it sits, we'd end up saving, net gain of savings, if we were just refinanced as presented right here, you said would be really a total $27,000. But if we apply that 1.6, it's gonna be more than that, isn't it?
I'd have to run the numbers because you'd still be at a higher rate. So,
Well, no, we'd be at the lower rate on today's bond.
but the refunding that I'm showing here is lower than today's rates. They're ranging from 3 to 3.5, and you're at 3.875.
Yeah,
So there would be some savings.
but this would be a 5%, not,
Yes, but keep in mind that 500,000 of cash on hand that you got from bond purchasers, that's also going into your calculation. The actual rate, it's closer to 3.5%. Once you add in that 500,000 cash that you're getting up front, plus the 5% interest rate. I know it's confusing because you see the 5% and it seems higher than the 3.8 that you're paying right now, but you're also getting an extra
yeah,
500,000.
bondholders are infusing $500,000.
Yes, the bond purchasers are
Bond
giving you
purchasers,
500,000
right,
to
yeah.
help you apply that towards the bonds too.
Right, okay.
So yes, applying the 1.6 million, there will be some savings. It won't be as much as what you're showing here.
Okay, so apples to apples then, right now, we're anywhere between 3.2 and 3.9, right, based on the different ones. On page 1, that's where we are right now. If we were to refinance, most of them are at 3.8, right?
If you refinance, it'll be
Apples.
anywhere from 3 to 3.5.
Right now,
Yeah, if you refinance right now.
so that would actually be lower than what we're paying right now.
Yes, yeah.
It just looks like 5 because of the extra
Exactly.
500,000.
I can rerun it just if you use cash on hand and applied it towards like the last payment and show what your new payment will look like. I can run that. That'd probably be a better comparison.
I mean, to me, if what we're saying is the interest rates if we refi versus what they are right now is very similar, but they're actually a little bit cheaper right now than what they were in true dollars, then to refi and give yourself the flexibility of not being required to make that payment and you're getting a little bit less interest would seem to make sense to me.
And if you do need additional cap for any project that you don't want to use cash on hand and dip into your reserves, I mean, if you think you might need to borrow now or in the future, if you want to throw that in here, that just adds to the efficiency of the whole going through the bonding process.
Problem with that is we're not quite there yet. You don't know what the project's gonna be and I don't know how quick that's gonna happen.
And that's where I think I've heard you've been paying some professional fees, and I know those can sometimes be a lofty amount. If you didn't, just those, soft costs, just to get you to the point where you know what project, if any, that you want to do, you could finance those. But if you have the cash on hand,
Yeah,
We got plenty of cash on hand.
then you don't need to do that.
That's what it's there for.
Jason, when we were discussing this back and forth, I think we finally came to the conclusion this is a council decision. But how did the commissioners play into that?
Talking to Barnes and Thornburg, which is your bond counsel for this, they both said that both commissioners and council would
So
need to approve
both
it.
have to, so if council does anything today, commissioners would have to follow suit.
Yeah, I mean, if you did want to go with the refinancing, or even using cash on hand, we'd probably engage Barnes and Thornburg, put together, a timetable to show you all the different approval process, because there are certain, public meetings, and documents that would need to be approved by both boards.
So this is informational today.
Yeah, this is just informational. This isn't where you have to make a decision unless you tell me you're interested and you want to see what the process is. We can do that.
So you'd have to give him a direction to go.
I would say yes, because you're getting true apples to apples. You are getting a lower interest rate and you're able to use some of that that's just sitting there to start paying this down and get the ball rolling. You have lower monthly payments and you're paying less money over time.
And like I said, if there was a certain dollar amount that you wanted to achieve, more than $24,000 net present value, you could tell us what that number is. And, we wouldn't pull the trigger until we found someone that could purchase the bonds that amount. And that could, take weeks or months. But at least we know that when the market would adjust in our favor, we're ready to pull the trigger, take advantage of it.
Is there a time frame to act?
No, yeah, this is just information, just said here's kind of the option.
One of these pages said it was an active date of like July. Is when they were
That
able
was,
to take
I
it?
assumed a July 16th closing because if you did give us authorization to move forward, it would probably take a couple months to get this approved. So that was just an arbitrary date that I threw out there as July.
So we can just move forward to take a look, but we're without committing to anything right now, right?
No, I mean, I can't speak for, Barnes and Thornburg, but if we were to, contract them, to put together a timetable, put together some documents, there may be some fees incurred if you did contract them to move forward.
And we only have a $25,000 buffer zone for any, that'd be our savings.
Net present value, yeah. I mean,
Total.
yeah, net present value, I mean, depending how you look at it, because you could be saving $200,000 a year in annual payments. But again, that's because you're applying 1.6 million in cash. But yes, your real savings is about 24,000 based on today's rates.
I assume we're not allowed to withdraw that and use it for other purposes. It probably has to go to this if
Yes.
anything.
Any input from the commissioners?
Well, and I take that back, that's something that we would need to look at about using that cash. Just applying it now, because right now, the bond purchasers now, they are counting on that reserve. So we would have to talk to Barnes and Thornburg to make sure you could use the whole 1.6. I feel comfortable you could use the operation reserve, which is between 300,000 and 400,000. You could use that, but the reserve, the original bond says we're going to have a reserve.
Yeah, is there something that changed that?
That's what I would need to check to see if we can. So I correct myself.
Okay.
We may or may not be able to use the entire 1.6
Gotcha.
because, like I said, the original agreement for 2015 said we would have a reserve.
I think just from the commissioner's standpoint, we would follow your lead on whatever you guys, this is kind of your area of expertise. So even though it sounds like it takes commissioner's approval, I think we'd follow your lead.
We don't need more information basically before we do anything.
Yep.
Right.
Sounds like
Yeah.
it.
I think the next step would be Jason contacting Barnes and Thornburg, work out details, timeline, all that stuff. And then get that, whenever they can get it. And then start having your meetings and so forth.
is there, I mentioned earlier, Baird Underwriting Firm is a company that reached out to us as well and is also looking at this. Is that something? And they're basically an underwriting firm. They would purchase these bonds and then sell them to someone else. Usually it's a large insurance company, but they also look at banks. And, you know, they'd be local banks and also the banking relationships they have all throughout the state and the country. And they would, with our assistance, determine, okay, is it better to go to local banks? Is it better to go to the open market like we did before? Is that someone you'd also want me to contact to reach out and say you're interested? And I think in this case, a lot of times I say, I recommend not to hitch our wagon with one firm because I think competition is good. But I think here with the refinancing, especially where we're trying to benefit the amount of savings, again, if we can work with this company, they can tell us, okay, this is who we have locked up at this rate, this is our savings. And then we can come back to you and say, no, this isn't good enough. We want to wait till we get a better deal.
I mean, are we all in agreement though that if the answer is that 1.6 million is sitting there accomplishing nothing and it can't be used for anything other than debt, let's use it. Let's get it paid down and get that debt gone. I mean, I think that's kind of obvious, right?
I think that's the big question is whether or not we can use all that 1.6 to pay it down or not.
Yeah, so that, I think that's sort of the question. So if we can do it, I think it makes sense.
I'll ask Ice Miller, Martin Thornburg that too, if we can release the debt service reserve from existing. Because I think that is important for you guys to be able to know that.
And if not, then we have a bigger question to kind of deal with.
And like I say, if you go through the timetable and you know, the market could change, as you know, and we could show that we're not having any savings. But if you go through the process, the market corrects, you know, again, it could be beneficial. So it just gives you that flexibility to move forward if you want to do it.
Good, thank you.
I was also asked, since I was going to be here, to, I guess, be available if there were any questions about the local income tax.
I've
new law.
been sending council information from the AIC. Those 3 video sessions, 2 of which have already gone out. And I think I recommended to council that if you're at all available, I think it's June 12th or 13th, the day that they present that, this is kind of an important thing because the fiscal body, if everything goes like they're looking at now, the fiscal body will be responsible for giving out the tax for everybody in the county at this point, unless a city above a certain population decides to go on their own. So there's a lot of moving parts to this. So Baker Tilly is also working on all this information. They have a task force that the recommendation is not to even look at that until after June when more stuff is known. Because what would you be meeting on now? You don't know exactly what's going to be going on. So the guidance on that has been after June for that. But if you all have any questions on the stuff that you've been hearing or that I've been sending out, basically my understanding is unless they make changes, 2028 is when it's going away as we know it.
Yeah, for 2029. So in 2028, your job's going to get much more difficult. Good or bad, depending how you want to look at it, you're going to be very responsible on those different buckets of lids. And, you know, for townships, small cities and towns, they're all going to be coming to you asking for an amount. And you're going to have to make a decision, you know, yes or no, and then how much. And then Decatur, what's their population?
10,000.
Dan, you're above 3,500.
Yeah, you're about.
Just under 10.
Yeah.
So
So that's something I think we're.
Burn is
working
over
with you,
3,500 also.
You know, they have the option whether they want to have their own rate or opt into
Yep.
The county's non-municipal. And from what we're finding out, there's usually benefits to opt into the county's municipal rate. And that has, you know, implications to how much money that you receive. So that's that must program that the legislators are encouraging. It's not required. But what it is it's encouraging county council and the cities and towns to kind of come together and start talking now about all the possibilities. And then prepare a formal report and send it to the state by December 1. I look at it as it's good because this is very complicated. There's so many options, so many things for you guys to think about. You can't wait until 2028. And then we also need to know what the other communities, want or need, because like I said, that impacts you. So I think it is good to talk about it early. But also I think this is a good opportunity that if we, if you were to meet together and find out the math just doesn't work, no matter how well we try to work together and how well we try to compromise, if it just doesn't work, we can put that in the report to legislators and say, hey, this doesn't work. It still needs further tweaks. So I think it gives us an opportunity to kind of think about, what doesn't work and maybe even give suggestions. I know Elkhart County, they've already met and it doesn't work for any of the cities and towns or larger ones in Elkhart County. And they proposed their own kind of new legislation that they're suggesting, hey, if you do this, it makes all of us whole. So they've already met and submitted something to the legislators. So that's an opportunity for you guys to think, okay, this doesn't work for us, whatever reason. Maybe if we tweak it here and there, then it makes us more beneficial for us. So it gives us, I think, an opportunity to, say what works for our community. But yeah, once you get more information, we're happy to help or in any way or answer any questions that you might have.
Good, thank you.
Dan, would you like to comment?
No, I was gonna say, I think that report is actually due October 1st, state.
I think it's October 1st.
And we're happy to start meeting whenever you guys want.
I think if we wait until we have more information about, we have some of the numbers and so forth. But I'd like for all three of those videos to make AIC come out. And then if there are further questions after that, we contact Jason. Just so everybody knows kind of going in more about what's going on and what's best for you guys and the county and townships. And as they start consolidating townships too, then that's going to make a difference as well. So, but at some point, Dan, we will, actually, each of the cities could put somebody on that task force with council and have discussions. So, any other questions for Jason? Jason, thank you
Yep, well,
very
thank
much.
Thank you.
You want to go with this keeper's tax?
Good morning. We are going to readdress the innkeeper's tax. The reason for that is publication pursuant to the open door law was not done correctly the first time. It was not published with enough notice, so it had to be republished again. Understand, we're doing this here as a courtesy to the people of Adams County in consistent with our neighboring counties' practice of doing a public hearing. A public hearing is not required for this particular tax, the innkeeper's tax. This is simply a courtesy being extended to the public. So this time, Colton, why don't you come on up here? At the last hearing, Colton and Kaylee made a presentation to advise everybody as to the particulars of the proposed tax that is being discussed. So I'm sorry to ask you to do this again, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of refreshing everybody.
Sure.
And Lenny, you weren't here, so.
Yeah, so as you all know, last month we came to institute the innkeeper's tax, or as we also refer to it, visitor investment. I think that's the more appropriate term. I think that three-letter word at the end of that really causes some confusion about what this is. The reality of this is there are 78 counties in the state of Indiana that have an innkeeper's tax. We are one out of 92 counties. We are one of the 14 that do not have it at this point. All of the counties surrounding us have it. The counties surrounding us in Ohio have it. And so we wanted to be able to take advantage of that as well. Adams County has a lot of great assets when it comes to trying to bring in visitors. I think of Swiss Days. I think of all of the festivals in Decatur. I think of the concert series in both communities, Pine Lake, AB Cinema, the museum in Geneva. There are a lot of great assets. And what this would do would allow us a revenue stream to promote those out to regionally, throughout the state, throughout the Midwest. Currently, we don't have the ability to do that. And so this revenue stream was created by the state to create a tourism effort. The 100% of the funds that come through this tax would go to tourism, again, to promote, to increase local events, to support them in what they're doing, to create new experiences. With the funds seeded by the EDC for this, we've been able to create some experiences. Just one example is in the fall of last year, we had the coffee passport. We had over 400 people take a sticker. That means over 400 people went to a coffee shop and bought a coffee. Maybe they would have anyway, but because of this effort, they went and spent $5 at a local coffee shop. We had 6 coffee shops throughout the county participate. We had over 20 people complete the passport. That means they went to all 6 different coffee shops and bought a coffee. That's investment that they're making. If we have revenue coming into this effort, then we can share that throughout the region and maybe get people from Jay County to come and participate in that passport. Maybe we partner with Jay County and we have a passport of coffee shops across both counties, or with Wells County or with Allen County. This investment would come through what the state calls the innkeeper's tax. We are requesting 5%. That is built into any short-term rental, hotel, motel, Airbnb, anything that rents less than 30 days at a time. This would apply. I do want to reiterate, because I think there's some confusion around this. This is not a tax on that business. The business is not paying this tax. If you are charging $100 per night for your Airbnb or your hotel right now, if this tax were to be implemented, you'd still charge $100 and you'd still get the same amount of money. This is paid for by the person who is staying at your business. Similar to a sales tax. Businesses don't pay the sales tax. The consumer pays the sales tax. So that's what this is. That is our request, that we do this so that we have revenue stream coming in to be able to further this effort and really make a positive impact for the community. To me, it's pretty simple. Does this impact the community in a positive manner? Yes, it does. Does it cost the community anything? No, it does not. That's my request.
Just to highlight some of the things that you mentioned previously, can you go over and explain some of the statistics with regards to revenue that is basically money left on the table without this tax?
So we receive data from the Indiana Destination Development Corporation. That is the state's tourism body. They gather data every single year. And so we have data from 23 and 24. 25 data has not been released yet. Probably we'll hear very soon. In 2023, with lodging, we had $1.5 million spent on lodging in Adams County. That's across our hotels. That's across our Airbnbs. If we implement a 5% tax, that's $75,000 that we would have been able to gather. Right now, that's just being left on the table. Plain and simple. 2024, the spend was $1.6 million in Adams County. That was $80,000 that we could have collected to further tourism. And really the goal is, as we increase visitors to Adams County, staying in those hotels, motels, Airbnbs,
as that increases, that's more revenue. So that 75, that 80 is going to continue to grow every year. That's our hope and our goal, right? Get more people into the county, staying here, experiencing Adams County. That number is going to continue to increase. The percentage of 5% will stay the same, but as more money is being spent, that's more money we're generating and more money we can put back into the tourism effort. And so that's the past, well, I guess 23, 24, we'll get 25 numbers soon. But I would anticipate that's right on track. And that's without any tourism effort really going out there. We've started a little bit of that, but certainly we would see that increase and grow. And it benefits all of those different entities that are out there trying to be, their attraction industries or the restaurants. People are going to come spend money at restaurants. People are going to come to AV Cinema and then go to Monster Pizza. They're going to go down to the filling station and then go to Pine Lake. Those are all things that are going to drive not only visitors here to stay in our lodging, but also the spend that's going to happen in our restaurants and all those other businesses that partake in tourism type activities. That's going to grow as well. So we see it as a net positive by far for the county.
What is the current source of funding for these kinds of advertisements and
Yeah,
promotions?
the little that we can do is funded by the EDC. So it's funded by, the EDC is funded by fee-for-service agreements with our municipalities. So that's income tax dollars that the council and commissioners appropriate via CDIT. So that's how we get our funding, and we have set aside funding in our annual budget to pay for these things. So currently, we have this effort being funded by tax dollars, resident tax dollars. What we'd like to do is shift that from residents paying for it to visitors paying for it.
What is your current annual expenditure for these kinds of things?
We have set aside for this year's budget $30,000. That includes the part-time staff person that we have for this effort, and then a small portion for developing these experiences, doing the promotional material, getting into the Travel Indiana magazine. We have set aside $30,000 for that.
Currently about $30,000 tax, Adams County resident taxes.
Yes.
Versus your proposal for the for the innkeeper's tax, which would be generating approximately 3 times that amount.
Correct.
Through taxation of people that come here to stay.
Yeah.
Right, non-residents.
Yep.
Okay.
So currently the money comes from the local income tax with the economic development, right?
Yeah, it funnels, that's how we're funded, the EDC.
And so
The
you would-
majority of our funding, we have some private funding as well, but majority comes through funding from the EDC goes through the income tax, CDIT, and then we're using that to fund this effort. Because
no
we didn't
longer
have
take that then?
What's that?
You no longer take that then? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, we would probably still invest next year into the effort just to make sure that there's still some funding there as the money builds up, because this we don't just get $75,000, a year. So we'd still fund some, but yeah, our vision would be that it would go away. It could kind of be its own thing, do its own thing, just like we did with Imagine Early, the childcare. We saw a need, we built up an entity to do it, we sent them out, and then we're really no longer involved. That would be the same vision with this. They have their funding, they're able to do what they're doing, and then the EDC takes a step back.
So before we really even get to the merits of it, I guess my concern is that budget amount right there. I mean, before we get to any of it, I mean, that's sort of my main thing. That fund, I believe, is building about $475,000 a year. I mean, we're bringing in that money and we're not spending it. So if it truly was, let's lower the income tax in place of an innkeeper's tax, you would have me. But that's not going to happen. We all know that's not going to happen. We've got money that's not being spent, and that income tax is going to stay exactly the same. I mean, unless this body is willing to lower the income tax, you're not really replacing it. You're still collecting it. And then you're not spending it. It's just
We
sitting
are
there.
spending the CEDA, Corey.
Your
Are you saying
economic
we're not
development
spending the
account,
CEDA money?
your economic development budget and the amount of cash balance in there is going up by about $475,000 a year.
I want to clarify, my budget as the Economic Development Corporation is not going up. The CDIT money the county may be getting is going up. I
That's
just
what I'm
want to
saying. I would
clarify.
rather appropriate that to you since we're already collecting it.
Yeah.
unless we are actually willing to lower the income tax, then I'm with you. But to just add it, you're just adding, you're not, there's no subtraction happening.
Well, I think the distinguisher for me between that is you're going from residents paying for it to non-residents paying for it. I understand what you're saying. If there's
Yeah.
money sitting there, my recommendation to you all, and I don't want to tell you how to do your job, but if there's money sitting there, I'm sure there are plenty of ways in the community it could be spent. Nate would, I'm sure, take some money for bridges and, there's ways to spin that if it's just sitting there. My fear with that, Corey, is if it's easy for you to give me the money for tourism, it's easy for you to take it away. This is a revenue stream where non-residents are paying for it that is going to be there, and we know we have the consistency to keep this effort going.
I guess I'm saying if we're gonna say that this is a dichotomy between non-residents and residents, then we need to actually follow that through. Lower the income tax by, that's a tiny, tiny amount. I mean, 70%, 70,000, we're talking, what, 0.01%? But let's lower that income tax if you're gonna add a different tax. Then I'm with you. But if we're gonna leave it as is, then it's a brand new tax and it really isn't totally on outside people. Because your local business owners have a price that they think they can get. And if you're adding that percentage on there, customers don't just pay unlimited amount. You've raised the price on them. Less are willing to buy. And these are not just like tourists coming. My understanding is somewhere between 50 and 70% of people coming are family members or employees of our citizens. So it's not like we have Disney World here. People aren't just coming in. It's our own family members that are paying this tax for the most part.
If I could just speak to the seated real quick. The commissioners every 2 years control what is done with seated. It's 0.4. 0.2 goes straight to the hospital bond. The rest of that, regional sewer district gets money. Economic development gets portion. NERC, Northeast Indiana Regional Coordinating Council, they get some of it. Council on Aging gets $100,000 of it. And the remaining amount of that money goes to the highway department, which they use for chip and seal and roads. I think that's what they use it for, right, Stan?
Yeah.
So it is being used. It's not just sitting there. It's going out to all of those entities.
But like the economic development account, last year started the year at 2.2 million. This year it starts the year at 2.7. That's the economic development, not the whole lit money. I'm talking about economic development. The money in that account has gone up by 400 to 500,000 every year for a number of years. There's money there. If we really believe this is a worthwhile cause, there's money there. We don't need a brand new tax to give it.
I'm guessing the highway department's gonna spend a lot more of that
Not
this
out
year
of the
with the
economic
high
development.
gas prices.
This is economic development, not the total lit. This is just economic development.
Just the money that's going to economic development.
No,
Which
ours
they
don't.
get,
Your cash balance is 2.7 million right now.
Not a chance.
they get $194,426,000 a year.
1112 lit economic development, beginning balance.
I think
That's
the
the entire
account.
seated.
That's the entire account.
That's the
Right.
entire
That's not
seated.
what I'm getting. That's where I want to be very careful. The EDC does not have $2.2 million that's coming our way.
Okay, but you
Okay.
can't tell me that we've got, I know you're sitting there, so I'm looking at you, but I'm not blaming you.
Sure.
We have a $32 million budget across all line items, okay? We're talking about $70,000. We can get a tiny bit creative somewhere. Every year across our balance, we have more than $4 million that's not spent. We can find $70,000. This is like, without even blinking, if anyone's willing to put some energy into it before just going straight to a new tax. Like, and I'm not saying it's a bad project. We can find the money for this easily.
I think he did. I think that's a great way to go about it.
By raising a new
And
tax.
outside investors come in for the betterment of our community, county. And it's actually, I consider an investment in the businesses and
So taxes are investments now? Like, that's not what our party says we believe.
this will all,
Can I just make a
This,
comment
this
on
is something.
that money goes back into, I think, to reinvest in the hotels and the motels and the Airbnbs to get more people here.
But we have the money.
Excuse excuse me, isn't this to be a public hearing? Why don't you let the people talk and then we can have a discussion? It seems silly to continue to discuss something that you haven't heard all sides. I'm sorry to interrupt. It
Well,
seems like we're wasting a lot of people's time.
We're still discussing we'll have a public hearing, but the comment section comes at the end.
Seems kind of a silly timeline to continue to.
Well,
discuss
after our
something.
discussion, then we have the public input.
Up to Dennis. Dennis the president. Dennis can decide when.
I mean,
the comments are.
I'm not saying we don't want to hear you.
It's being held in public, but it's not.
Lodging, yes, we have.
That's up to you.
What percentage is outside the county?
Oh, you mean how many people come from outside the county to stay?
Yeah, that.
We would have to, and it sounds like maybe we have some lodging providers here that might have those numbers, but I couldn't tell you how many,
You don't have a.
what that percentage is of outside.
Because, a local person can use the hotel too.
Right, absolutely.
And so you don't have that data like over.
No, not with state, not to say, hey, of the occupancy of the hotel in Bern,
Public comment comes.
60% of it is local, 40%, I don't have that.
I guess, one of my
Can we just
concerns
let
is
them
if
comment?
you get this new
and
money,
afterwards?
how do we know it's gonna be appropriately spent?
Well, the oversight would be by the commissioners. They establish the commission, essentially a board that would oversee those funds on
So
a
it
yearly
would not
basis.
be you supervising this thing, correct?
Correct. I mean, ultimately, the commissioners, the commission they put together would have the oversight on the annual budget for that. It would be reported out to the council on a regular basis, how things are going.
And that board is made up of the business owners as well, too.
Correct.
Yeah. Within the state code to establish this tax, you have to have a certain number of people on the board, the commission that oversees it, that are within the industry. You have to have lodging providers. You have to have, certain individuals throughout the community, businesses that are within that attraction tourism type industry that would be able to speak into, hey, here's what we see, here's what we think, here's the initiatives we want to accomplish. That's how that works.
So that'd be a new commission being established.
Correct, by the commissioners.
So this is one I definitely struggle with. And ultimately, because ultimately I don't like implementing new taxes. I don't. But if we say we're gonna bring in the outside investment, I do agree if we're gonna do that, and especially if we have a budget or, that line item seems to be growing, then I would be in favor of cutting that then, because then you are saving our local tax dollars. We're giving some of it back. There's a few people here, if you don't know, try looking up the property tax code. We do not have a lot of control over that. We really don't. The state controls that, and they it's set up in a manner that it makes it very difficult for us to do anything but appropriate the funds. So ultimately, on the income side, the lit side, we do have some ability there. So, and I have heard some community comments about this, and there are many that are in favor because they would rather have outside, people from outside the community pay this tax. But ultimately, I want to hear as many from the community as possible. So can we do that? If there are people here that want to
We're just
speak,
waiting on the conversation to end so we could do that.
I think normally you need to come up here to the mic and state your name. Please hang out there though.
Oh, sure.
Try to limit it to a few minutes, otherwise we'll be here till.
Open the floor to the public for comment. If you step forward and state your name.
Just be mindful of everybody else's time, please.
I'm sorry.
Just be mindful of everybody else's time, please.
5 minutes.
So good morning. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I really appreciate that. And I'm also want to express my gratitude to the person who took the time to notify me. 8:30 in the morning is kind of difficult to rearrange my schedule, but my name is Kelly Massman. I own the Cottage on Fifth. Maybe some of you have heard from it. It's a small local run short-term rental here in Decatur. I'm here because the proposed 5% innkeeper tax on vacation rentals would have a significant impact on small operators like myself, and I want to share with you what that looks like for us. Every guest who stays with me is sent to places that make our town special. I personally recommend and support all the downtown businesses to my guests. I ask them what they're here for when they book, and then I try to curate places for them to visit. I also invest in our community by purchasing from these places. Serena's Bakery, I purchase the breakfast goods for my guests. I always recommend Two Brothers on a summer Sunday when they're leaving town, they can stop there for their brunch. Tipsy Glass Winery is in our county. I provide a complimentary bottle of wine for my guests. My guests don't just stay at my cottage, they spend money all over town and in the county. This tax doesn't just affect me, it affects small businesses I help funnel customers to every single week. Over the last year, for those stats that we're looking for, this is what my statistics look like at my place. 54% are visiting family and friends, and I know a few of you here, your family and friends have stayed there. 18% are here for business in our community. This week alone, I've got somebody staying to work up at the Ellison Bakery. 12% are attending weddings. 8%, only 8% are true tourists here. 4% are last minute travelers just passing through. 2% are moving to the area, and 2% are funerals. This means that 92% of my guests, and this is the last year, are here for nothing to do with tourism. And I want to be honest about something many of us already know here. The hotel options in Decatur have a lot to be desired. Most of us do not recommend them to our family and friends or out-of-town guests to stay here because of the activities and the issues that come out of those properties. People choose short-term rentals because they want to be safe, clean, and quiet place to stay near their loved ones, and that's what we provide. Decatur's not a vacation destination. It's a place people come to reconnect with their family, attend life events, and work in our community. A 5% tax doesn't fall on tourists. It falls on the families visiting loved ones, again, the family and friends that you guys have staying here. Many of my guests are traveling nurses and medical personnel working at Adams Memorial Hospital. These are essential workers who fill staffing gaps and support our local healthcare system. Raising their housing costs makes it much harder for them to serve our community and is harder for the hospital to track them in. My prices are set carefully on what I offer, but I can't overprice myself. In a non-tourist town, guests are extremely price sensitive here. A 5% increase may sound small, but it pushes us past what people are willing to pay. The platforms, Airbnb charges 3% to me as the host. Then they charge an additional 14 to 16% on top of that nightly rate. And then Vrbo and Booking.com have very similar fees to that. And in a small non-tourist community like ours, most of us need these platforms just to be found. We don't have walk-in tourism. We don't have destination traffic here. Without these platforms, our listings would sit empty. So before a guest even arrives, the platforms take their cut, the guest pays the 14 to 16% in the platform fees, and then the state collects 7% from us also. So adding another 5% local tax on top of all that doesn't just add to the cost, it's compounding it. It makes Decatur less competitive and push them to cheaper towns. For small hosts like me, these stacked fees shrink margins to almost nothing. At my property, we're not large operators with staff. We clean, maintain, repair, and manage everything ourselves. If I had to hire housekeeping, it would put me in the red every single reservation. The cottage on 5th, I'm located at 418 North 5th Street, is well maintained. Just this past fall, we invested in new siding, a new roof on both the house and the garage. We keep it beautiful, safe, and valuable for our neighborhood. And since opening in the fall of 2021, our property taxes have climbed nearly 30%. We are already contributing significantly to the tax base in the neighborhood improvement. I already pay property taxes. I've already reinvested in the community. I already support our local businesses. This proposed tax feels like a support for small business, feels less like support for small business and more like a penalty for doing exactly what the city says it wants, like improving properties, attracting visitors, and contributing to local economic growth. I'm not a big landlord buying up housing and driving up prices. I'm a small business owner building a passion project, something I've dreamt of my entire life that I've built with my own 2 hands. So before posing a new tax, the public kind of deserves some clarity. Why is the increase needed? What budgetary shortcomings is it intended to address? What other options have been explored before arriving at this proposal? I respectfully ask you to reconsider this tax or explore alternatives that don't harm the small locally owned short-term rentals that are genuinely supporting Decatur's economy. We're partners and we're not a problem to be taxed here. So I appreciate your time.
Hi, I'm Josh Zimmerman. Yeah, we have 5 units that we rent on Bigway, 1, 2, and 4. I got one on Evergreen, one in Salem. But most of ours, we have people that stay with us, they contact us because they're having burnouts and stuff in their house. So they're all local. And most people come here for seeing family. We don't have like too many that come for tourism. So I don't know how this is gonna affect, like, we're gonna charge our locals tax for staying in our place because they have a fire or plumbing issues, or that's why I don't understand how that's gonna work. Cause I got people, I got 2 of them right now that have burnouts and they're staying at our places, so. Say it's 30 days, whatever, we're not gonna tax, what if it's 25, you're gonna tax some people on 25 days and there are in-town people. So I don't get it. Like I said, we got a lot of funerals and stuff too, and weddings, I don't know how this will work.
Yeah, it is a conundrum when it, displaced locals.
We get a lot of them. They reach out to us, we're the
I've
building.
been contacted by police officials for domestic battery situation. You know, we're here to work with you guys in the community. If we have, I've sent them, like, we had a house fire in the last month. I was contacted. I didn't have availability, but I sent them this way. We're working together. Because we don't want to displace those people. They're good people in our community.
I get the hotels.
Right. I bet the intent of the whole thing is to develop some new business.
Right,
for
but a lot of
people
ours
to-
would be
I- yeah,
it's the local.
I
Like
get
people.
that. I don't know how to solve every.
I mean, I might have one person, we do, this stays every year, they do go to Pine Lake, but that's like, that's a small handful.
Yeah, I don't.
Do we know how many Airbnbs or those kind of rentals we have here in Adams County?
I got 5.
You have 5, 6, 7, and then open house.
You know, counting bed and breakfast and all those. You have that code?
What was it, across the county?
Yeah, how many Airbnbs or, bed and breakfast, lodges we have?
Around 10.
10?
Yeah.
So the hotels they're not getting this tax as of now,
They're not collecting it right now. They would be included in this.
so I get hotels, but I mean, like I said, ours is like, the people that actually live in the community still, we're coming to see family. So they are pretty much local people. We don't have anybody just come here to stay.
Like exclusively?
Yeah, I mean, you might have someone stopping from like New York and stopping here to sleep.
Yeah,
That's what they're here. They get here 11 o'clock at night and they leave at 7 in the morning. So they're not here to stay. I mean, they're passing through. Like if they're heading from south to Michigan, this is a good stopping point. And they stop in the middle of the night.
You can move on to the next person.
We get a lot of those. So it's just something to think about. Like I said, we always have people
Any other?
that stay there, has no place else to go, so.
Please state your name.
My name is Amber Hyman, and I really just want to thank you also for having a public hearing. I think it is important. And I think I'll second a lot of what Kelly said, but I think the biggest thing I feel right here sitting in this room is how sad it is that the people making decisions are not talking to the people who experience it. And that's a problem in our world. This is not a problem in Adams County Council. Like, our world is making decisions for people who aren't living it. And I think the saddest thing is I've never met you, Colvin. We could work together. Like, why the heck are we here discussing something that we disagree about? Like, exactly like Kelly said, my house, it's my home. it is my home, so I take good care of it and care about it and care about the neighbors. But like, you can walk to ABC Theater, you can walk to Monster Pizza, you can walk to the Java Bean in 3 minutes from my house. Everyone who comes, I send to these places. Why are we not working together with the economic development community and making it, oh, congratulations, people went to the coffee shop. I don't mean to diss that concept, but why aren't we part of that? Why aren't we as Airbnb hosts? There's only 8 of us. I mean, actually, no, because you have 5 of them. So there's 4 people in this town who are hosting guests. And like, why aren't we a part of that team? Why aren't we helping the economic development? And there's better communication. And I would just second everything that, like, again, I'm not gonna pick on names, I'm not gonna pick on people, but your relatives have stayed in my house. And like, in addition to all the things they said, weddings and funerals is the primary. But the biggest guests I've had in the past 2 years is visiting relatives at Woodcrest Nursing Home. So people out of town who are visiting their elderly dying relatives. And that breaks my heart to think that we wouldn't have a place to host those people in this town. And like Kelly said, and that's part of the cost of doing business is you pay all these fees. But the reality is the fees that come back to us, it only lets me maintain and keep my home. But it's not making a huge profit on our end. And that 5% really does make or break. I mean,
Well, that 5% wouldn't be coming.
it
off of-
would 100% come from us. That is such a concept that you're not getting. So
don't
I
get it.
cannot, so like your example of if you charge $100, it's not taking anything. If I charge if I want to obtain $100 to me, I want $100 cash to come to me, I have to charge $170 to get that in my pocket. Because of all the fees that they take out on this end, they take out on this end, the taxes that come out. I mean, that's a reality that the consumer isn't recognizing. So when I talk to a guest, if they're a good guest and they've stayed, I'll do it off the platform to avoid some of those fees for them. But you can't avoid taxes, and you still have to pay taxes. So that's not one that you can avoid, but some of the fees that come with the platform. So what you don't understand as the guest, so when I go to an Airbnb as a guest, I'm not giving that percent or all of that cash to the host. It's going 100 other places, including the taxes.
Well, the $100 would still go to you.
Well, it means I have to charge more.
No, you'd still,
Honey, you don't get it. If I go to the Dollar Tree and I buy something for $1, I have to pay $1.07. So the customer is paying that extra 7 cents. You can't say that they don't pay it.
yeah, and the Dollar Tree is getting the dollar.
Right. But now I have to charge 93
What you
cents.
pay is
I have to charge
different than
93.
what,
If you're only willing to pay $1, I now have to charge 93 cents. That's the math.
yeah,
I understand there's not
what you're
a-
saying.
But John's not getting it. Like people are not willing to spend unlimited amounts. There's a number where they say, I'm not staying there for 105. I would have for 100, but not 105. You can't just add on forever and think that they'll just keep coming. Like it hurts her. She either has to drop her rate down to 95 to keep it at 100 to keep her client, or she's got to convince them to pay an extra $5 that she didn't think they would have paid her. She would have already charged that.
Otherwise, there are more options. in
And a
Fort
lot
Wayne.
of, exactly, there's a lot of options in Fort Wayne. A lot of times I have people who are like,
I gotta have the microphone,
Oh.
they're messaging me saying they can't hear.
oh, sure. Sorry, should have known that.
It wasn't turned toward you, so.
But thank you. There are a lot of people, like linemen who are doing jobs in Fort Wayne. But they might stay for 2-3 months here because it's cheaper, it's a calmer atmosphere. They're willing to do the commute instead of stay there. Now they're buying their groceries here, they're buying their pizza here, they're going to the coffee shop here. So that's drawing people in because we are cheaper here than in Fort Wayne. I mean, and that's the other thing, it says rent under 30 days, but I'm assuming it would also be added on to somebody who stays a month or 2 months.
no, then it goes into residence and it's,
No, but it's not. We're still renting it as a short-term rental. No matter how long they stay, we're
Yeah, it's still,
were deemed as a short-term rental, so it would still take, so you think about the lineman who stays for 3 months, he's entering into the community, lots of money with his groceries and unfortunately, probably a lot of beer. And all that money won't be there because they're gonna go to Fort Wayne instead. So I think, I mean, I'm not actually here on my behalf for my 5%, like, it is disappointing. But I think it's very, very short-sighted of the community to say this is a benefit. I mean, if you want to do it and you need the taxes, I can't tell you no. But I'll tell you, it's a detriment to the community definitively. I mean, that's the hard part of it, that, I mean, and it's not taxing, it's taxing outsiders, it's true. The people who are staying here are probably not Decatur residents most of the time, aside from the fires, the plumbing things, but they're Decatur residents' relatives. They're Decatur residents' wedding participants. I mean, I live a 1-minute walk from St. Mary's Church. People have their entire wedding party getting dressed at my house before the wedding. I mean, what are they gonna do? Go to Fort Wayne, stay in a hotel, do that there? Probably, in the end. Maybe even get married somewhere else, have their reception somewhere else. I mean, it's a small scale, but it adds up, and I think that it would make a difference, so. But, and I'm just here to say, I think working together with the economic development, $70,000 would be a pretty small amount that probably working together, we could bring that revenue into the town easily if it was a teamwork instead of a battle, I think, in my opinion. Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, good morning. I guess quite a lot of folks in here would have known me already. And I think a lot of,
Yeah, what was your name?
yeah, my name is Dinarai Rajkumar. Yeah, I live on 922 North 13th Street, in Decatur here. I've been a resident here for 25 years. And I understand I have an invested interest in this county because I own a lot of properties in this county. I'm not here just as a property owner. I'm also a local pastor here too. I'm well familiar with Decatur and Adams County.
That was way over there.
Right.
You should pick it up.
So I'm well familiar with this county for a long time. And that 5% tax that they're asking for, I think it should be really put aside for now and more research be done on this. Because my time being in Adams County, I would say more than 65% of the people that use the hotels out here are local people. And over the years, we've had the same issues you guys have in here. We as local business people, we were trying to bring people in here too. And it didn't work. We beautified Decatur. Decatur is really beautiful right now. Yet in 25 years of me being here, when I came here in 2001, the population was just under 10,000. 25 years later, still under 10,000. Decatur is not growing. We're trying our best, and I compliment everybody for, all the commissioners, everybody for trying their best to bring this city and this county forward. Somehow it seems that we kind of just locked away in a corner, and it's becoming difficult. And when you pay 7% taxes to the state and you add 5%, that's 12% tax now. That's difficult for local people to pay. I take in people from homeless people. I take in people from the county jail, Mr. Beard, the next sheriff will know that. I take in people from St. Vincent de Paul. They pay, they help to pay people for people to stay. And I charge like $140 a week. Because the people who come to me are people who are struggling. They work at McDonald's, they work at Burger King, they work at Wendy's. We have a poor part of society in Adams County that I think a lot of times we tend to overlook them. And for those of us who are doing well in life, you know, we might sometimes forget those people exist. Apartments is too high for them to live in. Because I might rent a house for $1,000 a month, and there are people who could pay that. And then I had to charge $550 a month in the hotel, so that there are people who could now be housed that would have been sleeping under the bridge, on the streets, walking the highway. Now, it's difficult now for me to ask these people who paying $550, could you give me $30 more? Or $27.50? They're not able. Their social security check is $1,000. Their whatever benefit they get in. I have some young people, some young girls that might have 4 children. I literally give people free room because there's either free room or they sleep on the street or they stay in a bad situation. It is known in this county that the price that I have paid for reaching out to those people. And to add now 5% on top of that is difficult. All I'm saying to the board is, or the commissioner is, this might not be a good time to do the 5%. I think it should be put aside for now, explored later on, and not right now.
Can I interrupt? I got a question that pertains to that. Where's Colton?
Yeah.
There's twice been brought up, if this does go into past the 30 days, how is that rectified? So if he's got somebody staying there, or Josh had somebody stay there for over the 30 days.
Well, mine could be 28 days. If their house is fixed by now, or by then. You know,
Right,
that's my thing.
okay, I guess.
Well, the state law
Looking
is, the
through-
state law is after a guest stay for 30 days, they pay no sales tax. So if you stay in a hotel for 30 days or more, you pay no sales tax to the state of Indiana. But we are talking about people here who is coming out of the cell, coming out of the prison, coming out of, I mean, I take people in from parole.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's a good point, because I don't know if that's addressed at that 30-day stage.
Right, but the problem is right, and that's what I'm saying with us, it should be probably put aside for now, not voted on yet. Explore this and see how it's gonna really affect our poor community, because really, I want you to think about this as a businessman. How many times the black bear was sold in the last 5 years? I mean, if the Muslims will sell a building, they're making no money. Because they used to own it at one time. The hotel on this side, they sold a couple of times. The hotel on that side sold while I was out here doing it. I'm the only person been here for 25 years that business didn't sell. So that tells you the hotel industry is really struggling in Adams County. And you need to have over 65% occupancy to make a profit. You can't make a profit with 50%. So you really have to be up at 65%. And that's about just a national average right now. Hotel industry, not just Decatur or Adams County, the whole country is struggling. It's not just here. All I'm saying is that I'm listening to his comment. I think it might be a wise idea for now, not to burden property owners, because we all get to increase in taxes, including probably you too. We're gonna pay more property taxes now to the county, to other people. So that added more pressure to this, I don't think it's positive for Adams County.
We want to give other people a chance to talk as well. Raj, if you
Right.
have anything further to say, but there might be other people who want to talk, and if we can we get what you're saying.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. That's how you do it. Here comes Cooley.
Morning, my name is Lloyd Leakdown with the Berne Chamber of Commerce. I appreciate your time and your efforts that you do serve the county. I come from a little different perspective here, where there was that movie, the baseball movie about if you build it, they will come. And I can only speak for the Berne Chamber of Commerce, but I'm sure it's same with all three of the county chamber offices here in the county. We operate on a shoestring. And we struggle on working on how can we better the community, and we look for opportunities that we can do that. I've been on the Berne City Chamber for longer than some of you guys are old, right? But it's difficult to run a chamber because it's difficult to find people that will even give of their time. It's always what's in it for me. I'm here today because I love my community and I want to serve it better. This tax, I hate to use the word tax, but that's what it is. It would be coming from people outside of our county. And it's a voluntary thing. Very few people know that when you go to Indianapolis and you stay at Indianapolis, you maybe take in a football game, what have you, you are paying 14%, contributing 14% to their economy. You're actually helping fund the RCA dome that they tore down 10 years ago. That's still in there. It's not prudent the way some counties do things. But we try to bring more people from the area in, and all four counties around us do charge this extra fee. I had a chance to talk to Mr. Doug Weissett yesterday. He's on the said board in Indianapolis concerning this, and he's also on the state tourism board. And there's all kinds of things that are at our fingertips with the help of the state of Indiana. One is the Indiana Festival Guide. This is at all of our chamber offices. It can be looked at online. And it can even be mailed to the individual. If you contact the state of tourism state, they will mail an individual this book. In that festival guide, there's just some incredible ads. Incredible. Look at this. French Lick, Indiana. They paid $4,000 for this ad in that book. $4,000. Now, I don't know how many of you have been to Park County. That's a pretty rural area, a lot like Berne, actually. Here's their Covered Bridge Festival. For their book, they paid $4,900. When you go to Indianapolis, this is up against 14% tax. We also have an ad in that book. I'm so proud of it. See this sneaky little ad here? That's all we can afford. And that's still $800 for us to put that ad in that book. And we got one freebie, this teeny one here. But the Berne Chamber, we need assistance, and I'm sure it's for the other two, to make it today. If they build it, they will come. Shipshewana, we're up against Shipshewana. They put out gorgeous. There's an ad they put in the book. What's kind of nice about this ad, though, is that they're advertising Smith Brothers furniture that you can buy there. So, because I've been in Smith Brothers 46 years, that's nice. But what I'm telling you is, we as chamber have people that are concerned about tourism, and if they build, they will grow. We need help. We need help. And that's why we're coming to you with this opportunity. Thank you.
Question for you, Floyd. And Floyd was my son, social teacher growing up, so I've known Floyd for a long time. But would it make a difference to you whether that money is coming from a new tax or if it's coming from existing money that we're already not spending?
Well, Corey, that's kind of interesting. We have 14 million sitting around, is that correct, or something?
Well, what I was saying was we bring in about 4 more than we spend every year across all of our budgets. That's not just one, that's all of them.
Would that be just a one-time, you throw us a little money to appease us and then we just go on? I mean, in my budgeting, I have to have money set aside for rainy days, for my retirement, for what's going on. I don't know if that's a wise thing to do, is just to take money out of this fund when is the county really that well off that we can just start taking money out of our rainy day fund and passing it out? And if we get some, well, then what about this group over here? They could use a little money too. I mean, how do you make that decision? How do you go on from there?
Yeah, currently there are a lot of people that ask for money. There's
Exactly.
a lot of money in the commissioner's budget. I mean, I guess the point is there's ways to do it with existing revenues. And back to what I said earlier, I mean, if we were truly willing to lower the income tax and replace it with this, that would make sense to me, right? But I don't think that you guys are willing to do that.
I mean, how long can you guarantee that would happen? Just 1 year, maybe 2? I'm talking about 10 years, 15 years down the road. We know that we have this opportunity here. That's just what I humbly approach you about.
You know, when it comes to burn, over the years, have you been having more tours or less tours coming to burn?
The tours of our town, less.
Did you guys used to have buses that would come in?
We don't have as many anymore.
That was when Bear Creek was still open, right?
Pardon me?
That was back when Bear Creek was still open.
Yeah. And Amishville. And we have some tours. The guy that does the tours doesn't necessarily like to take off work to do that, a whole day off work, because he sells furniture all day, and that just takes him off the road. But I do it. I do it. Why? Because I love the community. That's why I do it. Anything else? So thank you. I guess we're pleading for some kind of help. These folks are pleading for some help. We all need some help. But how do you go about that? That's your job. And I know that you're going to please all of us. Thank you.
Anybody else has a? You can.
Morning.
My name is Jeannie Akins. I'm from Geneva. I've lived in Adams County over 40 years. And I've worked in Adams County. I've been a volunteer at different events, on chambers, on different boards. And through the years, I've seen us kind of age out. The people on the boards now, it's hard to find people who volunteer to help out on these different things. And the events coming in from the Cincinnati area, I just loved Adams County's events, but they dwindled. And through the years, I've seen less and less participation, even with the local people here. And it's very troubling. And I know money makes the world go round, and they do need money. It's so expensive to advertise and just to even get people involved to do the legwork. Floyd and Andrew Briggs, these two men are so community minded and love this area and give so much of their time and their own money to make things go. So I understand and would love to support them, but I don't like the idea of tax. Tax is like a tattoo. It doesn't go away very easily. And you see the people here with their concerns. And I like the idea of, if there is money, if you as a council don't think investing in these communities and these chambers are worthwhile, why should these owners be worried about how they're going to make their businesses go better or make a profit? So I would like to see an investment. Yes, it's residential, but it's our community. If the people in the community don't want to see things go, then why have a tax on a few to make things go? I just think that there could be some very creative way of doing an annual percentage to see if it's going to work. and then revisit it. If it's not working, it go away. We're not wasting money. If we see that it's prospering and the business owners here are prospering, maybe they'll be more for the tax. But we are in kind of a rural area. The events we have here sometimes are seasonal or annual. So you don't have like the metropolitan area where they're always coming to visit. You know, it's usually local people visiting home. So are we really interested in seeing an investment in these communities to see if more advertising will help? Will more people be interested in what we offer here? As the one person said, there's no growth evident. We want that. So, but it's like a roll of the dice. Is it going to work or not? And making a tax makes it something that they're always having to struggle with. Whereas if we be creative with the monies we have, perhaps we can see if it's going to work or not. And maybe that would help everybody. That's all I have to say.
Well, we appreciate your comments. Thank you. Anything else to be added at this time?
Let's speak a bit. So I have great respect for each of you. My name's Lance Fichter. I don't have any Airbnbs or hotels or anything, but I guess I've sensed a theme here that maybe tourism is down in Adams County, and that we're not getting the visitors that we maybe used to get years ago. And I guess in my mind, it makes zero sense to, oh, let's make it more expensive now. That just doesn't make sense in my mind. If we want to attract people, we're going to make it more expensive. I, for one, have definitely gone on Airbnb, VRBO, and I wanted to rent something, and I went to click, and I'm going to rent that, and then I see all the fees that come along with it, and the taxes, the Airbnb fee, and I've definitely decided it's not worth it. And there's also been times that I've driven an extra hour on a vacation because it's cheaper somewhere else to stay. And so I have great respect for each of you. I think you'll make a great decision, and we'll support whatever that is. But in my mind, it makes no sense to make it more expensive to come and visit Adams County when it seems that the numbers are lower than they used to be. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
What we need today, you can either not do anything, table it, pass it. If there's no motion, you move on. So those are kind of your choices today. But the one thing that we will need regardless is a motion to void the ordinance that we did last month.
2026 should be voided.
Dash three.
It was actually
I'll make
dash
that motion.
three.
Second.
Should be voided.
Corey and who?
Corey and Fred.
Brett. Okay, so that part is done. Now it's really up to you if there's, huh?
We need to vote on that.
Yeah, vote on it. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, vote on it.
Well, did you?
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed likewise?
From my point of view, like I said, I struggled with this from the very beginning because I do feel like every small community is, I've said this from the beginning of the time I come on the council, is fighting for people to live in their community. I mean, that's not just in Adams County, that's everywhere. And so one of my goals in this position is to try to make it this a place where people want to be, and that means getting the word out, getting people, I forget what the numbers are, but you get somebody to a location X amount of times and they either become interested or not, and you may or may not get them, right? Whether it's a school or a town or community, whatever. And so we need to attract people into our community multiple times, try to get them to want to live here and see, I love living here. This is where I'll live, I've lived most of my life and will live for the rest of it. So I really don't want to start a new tax, and I think we do have the fund, but I do want to fund. I want to try to see if what Colton has proposed with what he wants to do and getting the name out about Adams County. So I would like to fund that, but I do think we have the dollars. And so versus a new tax, I would prefer to fund it see, and, but, you know, also Colton, hold your feet to the fire and see, have some measurement of how that's working. You know, I mean, in year one, are you gonna see a big change? Probably not, but hopefully over the course of 3 to 5 years, we can see have some measurement of success. So I would like to, in my opinion, I would like to fund give some dollars to that, but really not a tax.
I'd like to share one voice. There was a lady that wanted to be here. She could not be here. And she gave me permission to read her message. You know, the council got it. And, she couldn't be here. This is from Joni Lehman from Bern. You guys know Joni Lehman? All right, I'm gonna share the message that she gave me permission to share here. It says, she's not able to attend the meeting today, but she would like to share, I would like to share with you my support for this tax. For 17 years, I was one of the owners of Amishville USA near Bern in Geneva. Amishville consisted of a restaurant, a campground, a gift shop, and an Amish home for tours. One of my responsibilities was promotion and advertising. I was heavily involved with the following organizations: the Bern Chamber of Commerce, including serving on the board as the treasurer, a member, and a chairperson of the Tourism Committee. She was on the East Region Tourism Marketing Cooperative. This was a marketing cooperative consisting of multiple counties in Northeast Indiana area promoting tourism. Amishville was a member, and she also served as president. She was a part of the Indiana Department of Tourism. Amishville was actively involved in publications, seminars, workshops for many years. She attended the annual conferences on Indiana tourism sponsored by the Lieutenant Governor and the Department of Tourism. For the many years that we owned Amishville, I worked with Bern, Decatur, and Geneva chambers, attractions, and festivals from Adams County. We worked alongside the many counties throughout Indiana, the majority of which had implemented the innkeeper's tax years ago. We were competing with our neighboring counties that had so many more resources to promote their counties. There are so many treasures in Adams County, but we are so limited as to how much we could do because of a lack of resources. And we are paying the price today. So we used to have 30 to 40 motor coach tours a summer in Bern, which no longer come. These were visitors with dollars in their pockets to spend. The motor coach industry is just one example. The way to bring more visitors is to have more funds available to tell them that we are here. What about the guests that travel through our county and never stop because they don't know what special treasures that we have here? Almost every visitor needs to eat, but there's no promotion. How do they find us? Shops and boutiques, festivals, attractions such as Limberlost, Swiss Heritage Village, River Greenway, Munsterberg Plaza Clock Tower, just a few. Retail stores have many extraordinary shopping opportunities from furniture to antiques. This is just the tip of the iceberg, but we need to find a way to allure visitors to stop and not just drive through Adams County on their way to Fort Wayne. There are so many opportunities through web and print media, travel shows, etc. Anyone that has ever owned a business knows that you have to advertise so people know you are here. You cannot advertise without funds. Every time I travel, I am paying this type of tax, even in other countries. Why is Adams County one of the last ones to make this move? I have heard an argument that this will take income from the business owners. I strongly disagree. What business other than gas stations have the tax included in their price? I know of none. But if some agency besides tourism wants to grab some of this tax, then don't pass it. If it's going to be used improperly, then don't implement it. This tax is coming from visitors and needs to be used to promote the tourism industry in Adams County. And so I just wanted to share, she couldn't be here, and so I wanted to read her message there. Thank you.
Oh, I guess I would echo what Fred said, I don't know if you want to put that into a motion, but if we can come back with it, one of the many places, pick one, where do we want to fund this from? Look at it from that perspective rather than doing a tax. I think we have the money to fund it. It's just which one's the best? Does it come from economic development, county general, commissioner's budget? Where's it? We've got a lot of places. Someone just needs to put a little bit of time into thinking which one they want to do it from. Bring it back next month and but vote down the tax and look for funding from a different place.
Dan?
Just a couple points as far as the money. We're currently sending somewhere around $170,000 just from the county for economic development, and that's coming from lead taxes. So, the commissioners have typically appropriated the money from the lead taxes to such places like Tony talked about, economic development, NERC, Regional Sewer District, Council on Aging, and the Highway Department. So, out of that $170,000, that's already going to economic development, and that's specifically what these taxes are for. So, that might be a place to look to reappropriate some of that money from economic development to a tourism fund. Because logistically, if you approve this tax, then by statute, the commissioners have to form a board, and I think there's some logistics there that are real difficult. For one thing, you're forming another 6-person board. 4 of those seats would be responsible. The commissioners would be responsible to appoint, and that would be a volunteer board, and they would be responsible for collections. So as it is now, somebody from the VRBO would voluntarily report, and so that's kind of a logistical thing too. Well, what if somebody doesn't report? Who's going to go check on that?
I can answer that question, Stan.
And then there's some funding, and I'm not saying these can't be answered. I'm just saying it creates a whole nother level board and collections, appropriations, and so this tourism board, they're responsible for deciding how to spend it. Who do you spend it on? Do you spend it on Raj's Motel? Do you spend it on VRPOs? Do you spend it on advertising burn? I mean, it's going to be a whole logistical scenario that kind of puts the commissioners into a responsibility of another board, and then the commissioners are going to be responsible for any audits that come out of that board, that collection of spending. So, I think I have to agree with Cory in that I think if we want to fund tourism, that might be a place to look, is through the lead taxes and look at how we're appropriating these lead taxes. So it's kind of creates an interesting scenario for us for me as a commissioner.
So like if we use the innkeeper's tax money or the lead tax money, we still need a commission though, right? Either way?
No, you wouldn't need the commission, and what Stan's talking about, I believe, Mark can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the year, because this is the second year that you guys will redo the makeup of CEDAT, which is the entire lit economic development. It is at that point, if you wanted to put something on there for tourism, just like you do the Council on Aging, that would be the time to do it. And that would come from income taxes.
Doug?
Cory, okay. Council. Okay. I look at it, this decision is a council decision, you're a fiscal body. But as a longtime commissioner, I can remember when nearly 100% of CEDAT funds went to the highway. We've got 700 miles of highway to take care of. And if you're going to consider adjusting or finding monies for tourism, be very, very careful where you draw it from.
So I guess, to put it into a motion so we can keep moving, I guess I would I would make a motion that we no on the innkeeper's tax and have economic development get with Tony to start thinking through where would a good place be and bring it back next month for an additional appropriation or put it in next year's budget.
You don't actually have to vote no on the innkeeper's tax unless a motion and a vote happens, which it hasn't yet.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's not on the
Yeah.
table. There's no motion.
So if no motion, then nothing happens on it.
Not with the innkeeper's tax. If you want to consider finding it somewhere else, my suggestion would be doing that at budget time, where you can look and see where you can find it.
Even if you went forward with the tax, the money doesn't show up tomorrow. It'd be looking at it for next year's
Later,
budget.
it'd be next year.
So ultimately,
It's no delay.
there's no delay at all.
But as the fiscal body, the council would make that determination. And, the only skin that I have in the game really is if I'm charged, if Glenda and I are charged with finding a proper place to pay that from, we can have that answered by budget time. Or if the commissioners want to, that's in their ballpark with the CEDAT. If that doesn't happen, then we look at budget time. And keeping in mind too, when you talk about all the extra money out there, we've got a judicial center we're gonna try to fund out of that. And that's gonna take a considerable amount of that. You don't want to deplete your revenues too much because you're gonna have additional appropriations. So I'm just saying we've got to be mindful that we have enough in there to do what we need to do and the big things that are coming down in the future. So that's just advice.
Colton, you said, I think you said, to clarify, if this were to, if you got the $85,000 somehow, you wouldn't need a portion of your budget? That would be
Well, I would
deferred?
think that if it was the tax, because it's not just gonna be an automatic 75 eighty, right? That comes in each time, it's a 90 to 120 day process. Once it's implemented, to even begin collecting or anything, 90 to 100 days, 20 days. The EDC would still put the money that we set aside, obviously for 2026 is there, we established that. But then we probably put more aside in 2027 in our annual budget for that effort as well. Because, we wouldn't want to, in any effort, running any organization, you want to build up a little bit of reserve. And so we would want to allow that to accumulate a little bit before we start spending it, so we have a little bit of that, if that tax.
I guess more specifically, if it was budgeted, so if this wasn't,
Well, I think
if it was budgeted, would you get rid of part of your?
100%, like Corey said, if you want to decide to find it somewhere else and not have the tax, I will go back and I will determine how much we think we'd actually need for a full-time role to do this work. Because right now, it's only been part-time because we're funding it out of our annual budget. We don't have an existing amount of funds. And so it's been part-time. If we can come back and say, hey, we need 100,000 to full-time plus the money to market, to get with do all of the work, then we would come back and say we need 100, right? 75 to 80 is just what the tax would have collected. The hope would be, as we start that effort, we're working with all of our local entities, we're growing the effort, more people are coming, that goes up, the more money being spent. And so 70 is that's just the bottom line, because that's what we would have got. We may need 100, we may need 110, once we really look at it for a full-time effort, all of those things. So I would go away, right, if that's what you decide, and come back to you and say, hey, here's what we want. And if you give us that, let's say starting in 27, then, we would remove the portion that the EDC put towards it. Because again, ultimately,
Okay,
at
that's
that
where I
point,
was
that
getting at.
person will probably develop their own
That's not all the
nonprofit
money, it's
entity,
that much
and it would
minus
be
the 30.
standalone outside of economic.
So then, Tony, would we remove a small fraction from the income tax from the lit? Based on that? Cause that would be coming out
Well,
of general.
I want to argue against that, right? I don't want to cut my.
You don't want to decrease
No,
the
no,
money
no.
that they're getting.
To fund that, because we're funding it with the money we have, just like we funded early learning, just like we funded other initiatives because we saw a need and we filled it. I don't wanna take that away to fund this, because then we
Right.
can't
No, no,
turn
no.
our attention to the next effort and say, okay, now we wanna do housing or whatever it is.
We're already
gonna
collecting
need
our
that.
money. It's already coming in.
Our
so-
hope is the EDC budget would stay the same, and then this would be a separate effort that the county could find money for.
I think the argument's going to be whether or not the commissioners want to take something out of seated or whether or not the council wants to find a place to somewhere else to take that from. And I don't even know that we need a motion on that because we can just add that to the budget and just discuss it then. And if you approve the budget, then you're approving that.
The seated portion of local income tax is, and how that is spent is done by the Board of Commissioners, and they adopt a 2-year spending plan, setting out how they plan to allocate and spend just the seated economic development funds that come in. Okay, seated used to be completely standalone, seated, COED, and then seated got absorbed into the local income tax overall taxing structure, but it's still there. It's still seated economic development, and the commissioners develop that spending plan. So the council could say, we're gonna spend seated this way or that way. That's not how it works. The commissioners develop the seated spending plan, and then they submit it. It used to be that was it. Now, it's the county council has to appropriate the funds for that seated plan. And so they could just say, well, commissioners, we're not gonna appropriate those funds. And then, so now we're back to square one. So now it requires really give and take between the council or the commissioners to develop the plan and the council to appropriate the money. So I don't want anybody to be under the impression that the council now decides how seated is spent, because it's the Board of Commissioners that comes up with the plan. Council appropriates or not, and then it's kind of back to square one. So it's a little bit like our whole scenario with this court project, right? You know, the Board of Commissioners can come up with a plan and this is what they want to do, but if the county council says, we're not gonna spend that, and we're not gonna appropriate the money, then you have no project. And so it's very similar.
One thing I would just like to close with, so we can move on, is, it does seem like there's a real disconnect between, you know, I mean, I feel like I've heard 3 different versions in here today, and there should be some type of communication there. We can't legislate that. I mean, so ultimately, I think, you know, you brought a compelling case, and, you know, I think maybe you need to reach out to our economic development, and I'm definitely, on board with wanting to, you know, for economic development for our community. But there is a definite, and then our Chamber of Commerce each at all, you know, at our small towns here, there needs to be some type of collaboration there, so you're all working and driving the same way on the same road. So I would just recommend everybody getting together and somehow, you know, you may have overlapping funds that are, you know, going towards the same thing when it's really not necessary. So again, that's where you're gonna kind of have to take the wheel and not expect us to do that. That's not what we're here for.
Well, I think we've explored this well enough, so I think we can move on. Julie Marie?
And we'll be looking for a place.
So put it in your budget and we'll go from there.
I didn't have anything except for, to help with the discussion on the innkeeper's tax.
And I know we have 1 or 2 more items unrelated to this, but thank you to everybody that, I mean, you care. It's hard to get people to come, you know, on a work day in the middle of the day. So obviously you care enough to be a part of the process. So thank you.
And Amber, I want to again apologize. I wasn't trying to be rude at all. There's a method, and then the comments the public comments come at the end of the discussion.
Understood. I just think sometimes the questions that are trying to be answered were known by this portion of people.
Yeah, I get it.
But just realize though, there's other people that will look at it completely opposite. So, I mean, so again, I think there's a disconnect. So I would task you guys, all of you, to get together.
Okay, auditor report.
Okay, let's start with the transfers. You should have received all of this via email.
Move to approve all transfers.
Second.
Corey and John. Amended salary ordinance, you should have received all of that. Are there any questions? Corey and Bob raised his hand.
Your hand's bigger than the phone.
Okay, on the additional appropriations, the American Rescue Plan Act. That is simply because, as you know, ARPA does not roll over. So this was the ARPA resolution that you all had approved back in 24. And this is simply appropriating it so that it can be spent once the storage room and moving of the record starts. So that's what that is. The commissioners on the insurance, I know I've warned you 2 or 3 times leading up to now that there was going to be an additional in the insurance due to various factors. Now, the positive thing is, and I have Linda here if you have any questions on this, but we will have insurance monies coming back to us from highway, community corrections, and park and rec, which will take care of, that's why we're not asking for a bigger amount. And this may be more than we need, but if it is, then it rolls over into county general next year anyway. So
You're not talking about health insurance, you're talking about.
I'm talking about casualty property.
Okay.
There were buildings.
397, so that will come back.
I didn't know she was talking. So there were just rate increases. There have been new vehicles added. That's this, that, and the other thing where we just had these increases. So when we get to budget time this year, we've already spoken to the commissioners about increasing that in their budget so that we can cover this, not have to do additionals later. Tom, I think, is here for his $1,000 additional that he wanted to explain. The Cube Jail was what Dan had talked to you about for work out at the jail. Dan had brought that up and said it was going to be coming, or was that the boilers? The boilers. Replacement of the boilers that he spoke to you about, and that's what that is. The local public health. This has to be appropriated from the money from 2024 from the Health First Indiana. So the money is there, but to do a carryover, sorry, Dennis, to do a carryover, you have to appropriate it with the fiscal body. Tom, did you want to speak to yours?
Yeah. Well, he's coming up. I'll move to approve all the others, just to get them out of the way.
Second.
So back in 2025, I paid maintenance agreement on one of my books.
We gotta start that vote.
I got it. Corey and Fred.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye. Okay.
In 2025, I paid a maintenance agreement on my book scanner and it went down and the company I had to do it would not come fix it. So I had to hire another company to fix it. In turn, I turned around and sued the company, private engineer, to get my maintenance fee back. I did. I got a check for $2,855.38. And according to Tony, I could not put that back into my fund. So I had to put it back in county general. And this 1,000 is just to get a little bit of portion of that 2,855 back. So so really the county general will move ahead. Look again, it's coming ahead on it, but I'm just trying to get a little bit of that 2,800 back.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept that.
Want to sign these first or?
Was it weird shell game?
Yeah, I mean, it's,
No.
I wish
That's the way we gotta do
they
it.
would allow me to put it back in my fund.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to be fair, we didn't sue them, we just set them on the payment.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry.
Verbal threat.
Threat is with the acquiesce to the. Sorry, terminology.
Less than 50,000.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Eyes opposed?
The only other thing that I have, council, is we have that too, but this is May and this is the month where we ask for guidance to give to departments, knowing that it's not a given, it's not a guarantee, but it's guidance to tell them how to submit their budgets. This is the month to do that. I think last year, Corey, it was what? 3% and no more. If you increase your budget less than 10%, you don't have to come before the council, something along that line. That's the kind of guidance we need today.
From the last full budget year, which would be
Yeah, so we
25.
basically double, so like inflation this time was only 2.6, so times two is 5.2, but you give a little more than that. I don't think we went full time last time, didn't we bring it down a touch? Because inflation isn't so bad anymore. Cause you're basically trying to cover.
I think
2
you
years
said
of
10% including the 3% increase. So it was 7%.
Yeah, that's what it
But
was.
keep in mind, keep this in mind. It's all, don't know when the war is gonna end, don't know when gas prices might go down, don't know any of that. But I can tell you the departments, Eric certainly can with all the vehicles they have, the gas is going to become a problem with highway, sheriff's department, and it's gonna be higher. Don't know how long that will go or anything else, but that could be an issue going forward.
Just to throw this out there, I had a pop-up on my phone that said inflation jumps the highest level since 2023, Fed's report.
It's only 2 years ago, but yeah.
But it still did jump and it might continue to, it's just an unknown. We don't know.
Yeah.
How many county vehicles we got?
Sheriff's Department has what? 29 vehicles?
Yeah, close to that.
Highway Department has
I'd be in favor of 10.
probably that many and they have equipment.
Estimated right now.
I mean, it's, we have a pretty good amount of vehicles within the county.
Like the surveyor has,
We
marked
have
out.
surveyor, we have building and planning, we have, I mean, we got all kinds of stuff that takes gas.
10% that includes three.
Yeah.
Not to mention, that's how we do heat and everything else. We have NIPSCO bill.
Guidance for the overall number and the salary number.
We typically get guidance so that we can take, so we do it in one day.
Is everybody good with 10%, which would include 3% raises
And
over budget year 2025?
yes, so it's the same as we've done the last 2 years, but just, I guess, there's been a lot of confusion on that. This is 10% over, yeah, like you said, 2025, so this is, you're going back 2 budget cycles. That's why it's 10%, it's 2 years. And it's overspent.
Over the
not
actual,
budget.
not the budget.
Right, over their spend, not over budget, which is the same we've been saying, but it just keeps getting forgotten.
And when we send that out to departments, we let them know that if it's over that, they may need to come and address it. Or it's always possible too that, if there's anything that happens before that budget day, that they have a good reason that they have to increase it for some reason.
Maybe just like highlight in your email that this is 2025's spend, not budget. That just keeps getting forgotten.
Ask for notes, like.
Yeah,
That's
send
more
notes,
than-
send notes as to why,
Yeah.
Glenn and I try to put notes out to the side on each budget if there's something we wanna
Only
know
on
that you
something
guys
that's
see.
odd. I don't want a description of freaking
Yeah,
office
just the
supplies.
oddball, something that's.
Something
spiked.
that's odd, that spikes high or something, that's where we need notes.
Like if there was a position added in that department or something
Yeah.
along that line.
For whatever reason, their budget may change.
Glenda, do you have any questions on that? Do you understand what they're wanting?
I understand what they're wanting, but you're talking 2025 gas prices till now, and you want them to go.
So
Well,
that's
that'll
why,
be
That's
explained,
why there's an increase.
that's why it's
and
10%.
that'll be explained in the notes. We're asking for them to put notes in. So it's probably gonna go up.
So when we
20%.
send that out to them with
We'll
the
see that
guidance,
number.
we need to tell them, if you have notes as to why you're higher than this, let us know so that we can let council know.
And in all reality, if gas prices don't drop, then we'll do an additionals possibly. I mean, we'll understand that.
But so Glenda, if you're the one sending it, I think we've been saying this the last 2 years, but I think it's a change for them, so it's taken a while to understand. But we're saying 10% over 25 spend, then you don't even need to come see us, like and I think there's
So actuals.
it's not the budget. People keep thinking, oh, I'm under 10% of last year's budget. No. 10% of spend 2 years ago. Then we don't even need to leave it.
10% of spend.
Yeah, for 25, sign those 3, and I think that's all I need.
Which would it, and that 10% includes 3% raises.
Yep.
Which is really only like a 3% increase over their actual budget, because you're contending with 2026 wages, right, not 2025 wages. So they only have about 3% to increase their actual budget.
Because wages is not the whole part of the budget.
Right, but you're saying 3% for wages, but you're not taking 2025 spend of wages, you're taking 2026 wages, or you have an increase built in from 25.
Right, but
So you're
again,
spending more.
this has not changed. This is what we've done the last 2 years.
I know it's
And
not
it's-
changed, and I don't think that
And
it's.
it's been pretty effective.
I know, and I don't think it's an issue of understanding, I think it's an issue of agreement, which is.
No,
between
I
the
do think it's
guys.
understanding, because there's a whole bunch of people that come back and say, well, I'm under 10%, why do I have to meet with you? No, you're not under 10%. You're under 10% of last year's budget, but not of 25 spent, so then it's getting there, but I feel like we maybe have get it yet. Yeah, they have a wage. Yeah, cool, thank you. Okay, wage review, I'll make this, I think, kind of quick. So we met this morning, 3 things. The soil and water, replacing their director, categorizing it as a 3 going forward instead of a 2. Second one is the health department. There's basically 2 departments there. Commissioners are, I believe, on board with this, it's restructuring it, so it's really just 1 department. So you're putting 1 person in charge of what was 2. And so with that, an EX5 fits the best. And then the deputy person, so instead of 2 directors, you have 1 and a deputy. The deputy would be an NE4. EX4, sorry, yes.
And are these new positions, or are they just reclassifying?
You got
existing
2
ones?
directors that resigned.
Okay.
And so it'd be combining those into 1, making them an EX5. And the second one is a deputy as an NE4. This is health, and what's the other one that's like combining? It's health and
Environment.
there's the public nurse strike clinic. Yeah, those 2.
So there are
Saving
3,
money then by doing that?
3 people and you're condensing to 2, so you said?
Well, I think
Those 2,
we had actually talked about this.
you're saving money because you're going from 2, it's still 2 to 2. It's just instead of 2 directors, 1 director and 1 deputy. Then you also don't have like a clash, going
Because
on.
we talked about this, there were some battles at the top there.
Some hierarchy challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And there was an office manager on each side, there's just gonna be 1 office.
Yeah, so that's true. Yeah, that's right, John. So you have 1 less manager. And then the last one was IT. We know that Mike's gonna be retiring, so it's just beginning the process. And that would stay uncategorized at roughly the same as what it is right now and let them start looking.
yeah, so have we started that search?
That's what this
we're
is.
approving right now.
Proving to keep it as uncategorized, basically.
And then Superior Court was the last one.
Shoot, yeah, Superior Court, matching Superior Court with Circuit Court. There is a senior court reporter in Circuit that's an NE6, and this would just be matching that over in Superior.
Make a motion to approve all.
All of this is included on the amended salary that we had.
Okay.
So who made the motion to approve all those? Fred and John?
I do have one more question for you guys. So in 2025, we did not have a GIS department or the cybersecurity department. So what is your guidance on that?
I know those are departments now?
We went from IT, now we have these, we want it based off of like current spend.
So that's gonna detract, that's gonna remove some budget from IT, right? Cause right now they're wrapped into that. So I think Nathan is typically taking care of GIS, correct?
No, it's all Mike still.
Well, I mean, but in the GIS department, is that Nathan?
Ethan?
Or Ethan, I mean? Ethan?
No, it's actually Hayden. Hayden is in our GIS.
Okay.
Hayden is the tech and he's the only salary that's GIS, but because Ethan's more on the IT side now because of the.
Oh, that was a new position last year? Is that the?
2025 though.
I forget what we did last year for the, because we had stuff like that last year too. I don't know what we did though.
So first, can pretty quickly, can we be sent a breakdown of what the departments now look like? So who that is, what, yeah, and like what softwares are associated to them?
Just those, 3, like you want.
Yeah,
IT?
because they're all essentially new now, even IT, right? Yeah.
She's saying there's no 2025 numbers for those departments.
I understand that. So, but we don't know what the department looks like.
Yes, we'll get that sent to you.
We got a motion in a second, but I don't think we voted yet.
I'm sorry.
We had a motion in a second, but no vote.
Okay. discussion is finished. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, likewise? Go from here, Cody.
Hey, folks, I didn't hear a vote taken on the 3% raise and the 10% cap on the spending. Could you do a formal vote on that? You
That's what we
discussed
just did, yeah.
That's what that,
Yeah.
well, that was wage review that we just did.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
The wage review. You didn't have a
Well,
formal.
I don't think we need to
we-
vote on that.
That's just guidance.
That's just direct.
It's not,
guidance.
it's not, this isn't.
Saying, hey, guys, look, keep it here.
Okay, to me, it's a vote, I guess, okay.
Yeah, we're just telling
We all
them,
agree.
because the budget.
Because that's not a guarantee that it's not a guarantee that it's actually gonna be 3% in the end. That'll be decided at budget time.
Yeah, Eric, you did hear that 10%.
I don't know where they even found that.
Spending between 25 and 27.
Yeah, so 2 years.
Yeah.
But, well, the actual, so over the actuals of 2025.
The spending is 2 year difference, yeah.
I got these Summers Industries in there.
Okay, we'll call for a motion to adjourn.
So
JP
moved.
Summers.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's go home.
Home. Finally get to freaking work.
Yeah. Made the motion to adjourn.
Fred, no, I think, you know.
Yeah, these two.
Fred and John?
No, it wasn't me. I said aye.
Maybe it was me, I don't know.
Corey and Fred.
Eric, what do you need? Because I've got to get ready for the next meeting and I don't have.
I'll talk to you later about this thing. I got,
Let's do it later.
I'll do it later.
And that's